Yeah, let's do
Hey,
it.
folks, it's Steve Wilmes and Matt Kieta, and we're here with another episode of the Risk Control Show. Today, we're talking about the New Orleans attack, and really, what I wanted to do is two parts here, Matt. I wanted to talk about if you are a visitor to one of these events, how do you keep
Mm.
yourself safe? And the second part is if you are in charge of the event, how do you make sure it's safe for the visitors to the event or the attendees or whatever it may be? And
Right.
this is, I mean, we're just, going over here and looking at this thing. I forget when this article came out, but 14 were killed, doesn't hurt on Bourbon Street.
Yep.
Um, Unfortunately, I've never been to Bourbon Street.
I have actually, and I can see exactly how this would have happened. The roadway along Bourbon Street and along much of the French Quarter is a little bit tighter. So there's a little bit of an impression of that because it's two-story buildings everywhere, two or three-story buildings everywhere all along those.
Yeah.
But there's I'm not going to say it's claustrophobic, but the roads feel smaller when you're on there. It's a very walkable district for obvious reasons, and obviously it's a very old district. Those roadways were laid down a couple decades ago, if not more. So I think that that's part of it. Yeah, there's that gives a pretty good indication. It's
No, it's
when now
filled with,
imagine it's filled with people. Yeah,
yeah, I
exactly.
mean,
There's people everywhere.
of course it's smaller. This reminds me of Old Town St. Charles. It reminds me of a lot of areas that are designed to be kind of party centers. You can see here, you got basically a car and a half that can fit through there, a couple
Yep.
cars and a half, I mean. Um,
Yep.
but that you made a comment that I'm gonna really hit you hard with, and that is you can see how this happened. I don't think I can see how this could have happened. You know why? Because it should not have happened at all. And that's for the organizers of this event and the city itself. There has been so much non-responsibility taking and excuses built up around this. The very first thing, if you have this isn't just like what a local thing that the businesses said, hey, let's have a sidewalk sale this week. No, this is
Right.
a New Year's Eve celebration in one of the
This is a
most
big thing.
popular tourist destinations in America with a ton of people that are already drinking and partying all the time when
Yep.
they go there, craziness and Mardi Gras and
Yeah.
it's been going on for years and years and years and years.
Yep.
Ever since I was a kid. I'm in my
Yeah.
early 50s.
Right. I know, but people were. This was 3 hours. The attack happened at 3:15 a.m. local time, and that the place was still full. And of course, all of those individuals who were out there on the streets, or not, maybe not all, but probably most, were fairly to maybe exceptionally inebriated. So
Well,
that's another.
that's a reach, Matt. But people are out celebrating New Year's Eve, and again, just this is not something that has never occurred before. People go to Mardi Gras every year, and the place is packed. I've seen the videos.
Oh yeah.
It's ever since I was a kid. People are in New Orleans, Bourbon Street, acting hedonistic, I would say, and having a good
I
time and enjoying themselves and packing the streets and walking around with drinks. And they're in the street, they're not on the sidewalk because there's so many people there. So
Yep.
this is not an unforeseen incident. And
No, no.
for the officials of this city to not have plan for proper barricades and then to give an excuse, oh, we were upgrading, so we didn't have it. We were upgrading for the Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm sorry. Um, you knew this event was occurring. If you had any inclination, just like all these cities out here, man, if you want to have some type of event like this, right? You have to go through planning and permitting and all this, all this
Yep.
stuff. And so you don't put up barricades. You put out a
Yeah.
patrol car, and what? He drove around it and on the sidewalk
He
and
drove
down the
around
street.
on the sidewalk. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
come on.
And
Like
their
that's
response was to put out more police, Steve. That's what I is like, you know what we're gonna because actual law enforcement officers will be able to stop a truck just as
yeah.
well as any other human, right?
Well, yeah, I think that's the case. A law enforcement official, their body, yeah, they have some armor on, but they can't have any more impact really than any other body that's out there. And you see how well that worked. Um, yeah, do we put 2 police cars out, 3 police cars out? No. So you did nothing to protect the people at this event. And I mean nothing. Putting out 1 car, we always say it, one is none, two is one. Like you put
Yep.
out 1 car when you knew all these people were going to be there and go through this. I mean, it's outrageous. It's just outrageous. And it's a lack of planning, it's a lack of foresight, and it's a miserable attempt at safety, to
Yeah.
say the least. And all of these city officials should be greatly ashamed of themselves that this even occurred because this was so foreseeable and so preventable. And no one's talking about that. I mean, they're kind of starting to hit the city officials. There's been some talk about, oh, well, yeah, there were other barriers I didn't know that were out there. Well, where was the public works director and where was the streets division director? Say, hey, we need to do this, and they probably did say that, and they said, don't worry about it,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
so there's always this separation between PD, fire, and the city themselves and the other workers in there. Like not so much on the employee staff level, but at the administration level and the supervisory level, there's a separation in it. A lot of times, I mean, we work with a lot of cities and like, oh, we don't want to come to that meeting. We don't want to participate in that.
Right.
We don't want to do that. Oh, we don't. They do their own thing. Well, you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
So so the part 2 of this, which we're attacking first, is if you're an agency and you have an event like this. I mean, again, it's New Year's Eve. Are we surprised that 1 million people are going to come out and
Yeah.
traipse through our city and have a good time? No, I mean, I remember being in Philadelphia for the millennial celebration, and all those people, and I just thought, I got to get out of here. I mean, this is just crazy, crazy.
Right.
I mean, there's just too many people, no place to move. You're squished in here. Who's thinking about any of this? I mean, the City of West Hollywood plans for their Halloween party every year. Why? Because they know that it attracts thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and they have all kinds of provisions to protect people. So why
Yep.
wouldn't this city, who is constantly in party mode, be ready for this? It makes 0 sense.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you got to put up your barriers. They have to be solid barriers. Even a police vehicle, even with all the batteries that are in there and the extra weight, if I take a cyber truck which has all that weight and I just push the front end out of the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
big deal,
Yeah. Wouldn't take much to do that whatsoever.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. You need some legitimate barriers placed down,
Right.
which I
Yeah.
mean, it's a city. I know they have. You mentioned Public Works before. They'll have those, or they'll have the ability to rent those if they don't have those in there.
Right.
I mean, it's not hard to do. It's just a matter of thinking to do it and getting it done.
Yeah. So that's your failure, City of New Orleans. And unfortunately, I hate to say this, but we've seen way too many failures come out of your city. So it tells me that safety is really not at the forefront. And you can be mad at me all you want on that. I'm just appalled that there are so many individuals that are murdered at this event for no reason.
Right.
No
Yeah.
reason is a good reason, but this reason is unbelievably stupid.
Yeah.
So the second piece to this is if you're an attendee, if you're a visitor to one of these events, you got to be able to keep yourself safe. And the
Yeah.
first thing you need to do is look at the entrance to these events. Matt and I, we go up north quite a bit, and we go to Monterey. We do a little work in some cities that are nearby, but we go to Monterey, and it just so happens every time that we're up there working, they have that night market, farmers
Yeah.
market type.
The farmers market. Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and I mean, we kind of get there after work, like we'll be going to dinner or whatever, and we're like, oh, look at that! That market's open. Let's walk through there while we go find a
Right.
place to eat. And some of the
Right.
places we eat are on the side businesses there, right on the street. But that
Right.
street, it has all the vendors in it. And guess what, Matt? Did you ever? I know you noticed, but what is at the ends of those streets?
There's no barriers.
No,
It's the
those big barricade, the bollards that come up out of the ground.
oh yeah, okay. No, you're correct.
Yeah,
That's right.
remember we have
Okay.
to at the very end of the street they put up the barricades, and at the couple of the intersections along the main thoroughfare are the bollards, and they have barricades. So remember, you have to walk around the stoplight
Right.
pole, not the stoplight, the street light pole, and
Yeah.
you kind of walk around,
Yeah.
and you're like, why do I got to walk around? Well, because they got all
Yeah.
the barricades up. To say no barricades, you're not paying attention. So Matt needs a lesson in this too. The point is, when you enter some of these zones, you should take a look at those ends and the intersections and make sure that it's fully locked off so that vehicles can't enter it. I mean, you're not going to stop a pedestrian from carrying a weapon in there necessarily, or some improvised bombing device or something like that. But you should pay attention for these vehicle type incidents. Make sure that the vehicle can't drive through there. And if they can, then you really have to ask yourself the question, is this worth me going into this area?
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but our thinking's got to change a little bit. And basically, if people stop showing up to it because you're not safe, well, they just won't hold it there anymore. Maybe they'll get the idea that they need to make it safe. Maybe the vendors will complain. If you're a vendor at one of these, you should complain. You're a sitting duck. I mean, you got
Right.
your tent and you're standing there and you're trapped in behind all the people walking on the sidewalk and you're out in the middle of the street. I mean, your own safety is critical, and these types of events are not unforeseen, right? We see
Yeah.
it over and over and over again. I mean, the Santa Monica promenade where that guy drove through the farmers market started all this maybe 17 years ago, I think it was. When was that one?
Yeah, that was the one where it was an elderly gentleman, right? He was like
Right.
88 or something, shouldn't have been driving.
I think. Let's see. Santa Monica farmers market crash. Oh, yeah, 2003. And 22 years ago, Matt.
That's wow.
86. Drove his 1992 Buick LeSabre westbound Arizona Avenue toward the city's popular 3rd Street Promenade.
Right.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. So he reached speeds of 40 to 60 miles per hour. I mean, that's just crazy. That was in 2003. It's the same thing I said about the active shooters in 1899. Like, this is not new, folks.
Yeah.
So to keep yourself safe, double check the barricades, make sure that there's not an easy way around it. If they're using a police vehicle or public works vehicle, make sure that there's 2 or 3 of them there fully blocking the streets and sidewalks. A lot of times they'll put up the K rail or a water barricade there as well to add some additional weight. But the bottom line is, this really uh, is incumbent upon you to check your safety, because not every city, not all the officials are doing everything that they need. But if it's attracting a big crowd, you have to make sure that the area that you're walking in the street is safe. And don't just assume that because the streets are open, there's some vendors in there that it's just great to walk through. I mean, Ventura's got that area too where everybody walks down the little downtown and they got tables and chairs set up. They have barricades there. They have
Okay.
the crash barricades, and you can watch some of the videos and see these tractor trailers hit them, and it stops them just flat. It's unbelievable. You,
Yeah.
this is one of the checks. The other thing that you got to do is make sure that you're always situationally aware of your surroundings and where you're going to run. This is like Spain when you're the running of the bulls. Like, how do you get out of the way of the bull? How do you get out of the way of a moving vehicle? Can you get into a storefront immediately? Is there an exit path? Is there there's that many people there? Are you willing to take that chance? Have that emergency action plan. How do you meet up with the folks that are in your party? What do you do in that response? And be listening. I know in the moment you're partying, you're having a good time, but you also have to be listening for things that just don't sound right to give yourself a little bit of extra time to
Yep.
activate what you're going to do, and that just means that situational awareness, right? Can you understand the difference between gunshots? Can you understand the sound of a revving motor? Uh, People being crashed into, things like this. So it's just a couple little things. The very basic is the barricades. You got to make sure barricades are there, and they got to be fully addressed to the
Yeah.
street.
You can't be able to drive around them onto the sidewalk.
Mm-mm. Not even a motorcycle,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. And with respect to just the situational awareness, for those of you who aren't used to doing this, I mean, it just comes down to practice, looking for what stands out, what shouldn't be there, what doesn't make sense, and just take a moment when you're out. If you're out with family, walking into a restaurant or walking down a street, look around yourself. Where are the danger points? What's around me? Is there anything that doesn't make sense in the context of what's in front of me? And and find out, okay, why is that? Ask those questions. And like Steve mentioned, have an exit plan. Always be aware of where you need to go if where you are at that moment becomes unsafe. So
Right.
maybe that's diving off of the street. Maybe it's into or into and out the back of a shop.
Well,
Maybe it's a
or
different exit.
behind a nice light pole or something,
Right, right.
just the distance to that, it's not going to keep the vehicle from fully, or bring the vehicle to a complete stop, and it may create another hazard, but it can provide a temporary slowdown in some of that if they
Yep,
crash into those types of things. So, curb height is another one that's very important. A small curb height allows vehicles to jump over it very easily versus a bigger curb height, which can stop vehicles as well. So we look at some of those things. Um, I'm noticing my glasses are very crooked and my mustache is crooked today. So one thing, like if you see Matt and I out at one of those events, you should probably consider that from situationally awareness standpoint that we're working and, and are assessing this area, and it's probably not as safe as you want it to be,
yeah,
because we're looking at things. So anyway, just a heads up on that. Take your own safety seriously, and look at what these organizations are doing for you and how they're protecting you, and consider whether or not you want to support that, because your life is the one that's at stake, right?
yeah.
And you have to live with these memories forever. And this one's just absolutely horrible, and shouldn't have happened. It just should not have
Yeah.
happened. You know, in some respect, and I know people will jump on me for this, but people put so much around the sports, NFL, and oh, Super Bowl, and we're doing this for this Super Bowl. Well, that's great, and you should. Get me wrong, but these events are just as important, and they get overlooked because it's not the NFL.
Yep. Yep. Anytime you have a large gathering of people and you are the one responsible for the security and safety of those people, then you need to take that as seriously and just go above and beyond to provide proper protection for that
All
for
right.
those in.
Well, I hope you have a good one. If you need help with your emergency plans, especially event planning, let us know. From the safety and security standpoint, we're happy to assist you with that. And I hope you have a good new year. Good year. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep.